Hey, welcome back to Lifesculptors podcast. I'm Dante Poole, your host. So good to be with you again, having conversations about life, about identity, about relationships, about the stuff that really matters to us. And we just have it in a fun way. We read a children's book, then we pull all the themes from it or some of the themes from it. And I'm so grateful for every author who's written a book that we've been able to use here on our podcast. So grateful because you have been contributing to conversations. Some of you don't even realize the conversations you're contributing to, but that's the way authorship works, right? You write something and you put it out in the world, and you hope it reaches the people that need to hear it, that need to experience it, and it's a good thing. And so I've been thinking a lot about this word capacity and not the way we usually think about it. I've been like most of us define capacity as about how much we can do or how many tasks we can juggle. But what if there's something totally different about capacity that we should consider? Like, what if we would consider this question: Is the life I built big enough to hold, or for the person I'm becoming? Is the life I've built already enough to hold the person I'm becoming? So when you talk about big enough, I just let me clarify, right? When we talk about big, I'm not talking about fame or popularity or becoming big time, or viral or whatever that is. Like, I'm not talking about that. What I mean when I say big is, like, is there depth? Is there wholeness? Is there honesty, possibility? Like, are those parts of you that need more? Like, have you developed them enough so that there's room for you to grow into who you're becoming? There's more to you than what you've already lived. Every day is another opportunity for you to become, and there is more to you than what you've already lived. And sometimes the life we built at an earlier time in an earlier space, that life, it made sense then, right? It's like, this is what I need for this season, but it doesn't have enough room for what's emerging now. Like, there's some things coming out of you in this season that you're like, oh my gosh, because capacity is not about ability. Hmm. It's not about doing more. It's not about grinding harder. It's not about hustling more. Hmm. And so when we start to look at it that way, then the conversation has to shift, right? And today's book, man, it gives a simple yet unexpected way for us to enter into that conversation. Today's book is called Giraffe is Too Tall for This Book, and it's written by D.K. Ryland. Giraffe is too tall for this book. Let's get into this read. There is an elephant, a giraffe, a leopard, a snake, and a flamingo, and they're all friends. Here's the conversation. Elephant says, "Oh, peanuts, where are we?" Leopard says, "Considering there's a reader looking at us, I'd say we're in a book." "Well, not all of us are in the book," says the snake as she looks up at Giraffe, whose head is way off the page. "Oh, yeah. Hi, reader," says the flamingo. "Whoa, I'm too tall for this book," says Giraffe. "You're not too tall. This book is too small," says Flamingo. "Poor Giraffe," says the elephant. "What are we going to do?" "Why don't you bring your neck down here?" said the snake. "Hmm," says the snake. "Maybe that's not my best idea," because the giraffe is now bent over and it is very tight in their space. And the leopard says, "Yeah, this is a bit cramped." The snake says, "What if we make the book taller?" Hey, reader, can you turn the book to the right so it's taller? Leopard says, wait, but wouldn't that mean? And of course, you turn the book and they all come tumbling down to the tall part of the book. And this is, wow, this is much better, says Giraffe. Whose idea was this anyway? Says the leopard. My tail, says the snake as the elephant is sitting on snake. Sorry, says elephant. Do you think you could turn the book back around, reader? Says the flamingo. And of course, you guessed it, we turned the book back around. Oh, my page is stuck here, y'all. There we go. So the book gets turned. They all come flopping back down. Phew, this is more like it, says Elephant. Maybe for you, but I still don't fit in this book, says Giraffe. Do you really want to fit in this book? I mean, what is it even about, says the leopard. What do you think, Giraffe? Could you could do it? What do you think Giraffe could do to fit, says the flamingo. Sorry, y'all. Oh, says the snake. Try moving further away, Giraffe. So Giraffe moves all the way away. Can you see me now? He's so far away. He's so far away. We can see you, but we can barely hear you. Snake says, do you think Giraffe should come back? Please come back, says the leopard. Please. I know. If you can't come down to us, why don't we just go up to you? There's plenty of room up here. You should all come up, says the flamingo. How are we supposed to get up there? Says the leopard. Says the giraffe. Can you bend your neck like this? As she makes herself look like stairs. I can't climb up there. I might squish giraffe, says the elephant. But all the other animals climb up. What a view, says the leopard. Oh, great. The only thing I have a view of is Giraffe's butt. But wait, reader, can you turn the book like you did before? And of course, it turns it that way, and poor elephant just plumps right to the bottom. See, I told you all it was better like this, says Giraffe. Thanks for helping us stay together, said the reader. Yeah, this seems to work, says the elephant. Except when I stand up, I think I might be too wide for this book. You aren't too wide, says the flamingo. The book is too narrow. Oh no, here we go again, says the leopard. The end. Oh man. Oh, I love children's books so much. Like this whole dialogue that they're having because they want their friend to fit into this book. And first the book is too tall for giraffe, and then it's too narrow for elephant. And oh my gosh, it is just like so much going on. It is such a fun thing, right? And every time I read something like this, right, I'm reminded that growth doesn't ask for our permission. That it just happens. Like we think that we're going to fit into a space and then we start growing. And it, all of us have been adolescents, right? Where you go to sleep and the pants fit, you wake up the next day, they don't fit anymore. The shoes don't fit anymore. You've outgrown something and it doesn't tell you that it's coming. It just happens. And when it does, like it exposes the limits to our systems, to the stories we tell ourselves, to the spaces that we're used to feeling comfortable in. It just, and so what's interesting is that the giraffe isn't struggling because something is wrong with him. He is struggling because the space wasn't designed with him in mind. Ooh, I'm already saying something. I know. And many of us are living that same way, right? So today I just want to talk about different kinds of capacity because we need the different kinds of capacity in order for us to make the space and then make room for who we're becoming. And I'm not talking about productivity again. I'm not talking about ability. I'm not even talking about busyness, but capacity as the inner space required to become who you were meant to be. Yes, 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 yes. See, most of us have been taught that capacity is about ability. Like how productive we can be under pressure or how many responsibilities we can handle. But that definition, it doesn't work because it turns capacity into a performance, right? And rather than who we're becoming. Hmm. So here's the truth I want to explore. Capacity isn't how much you do, not how much you do, is how much of your future self are you willing and are you preparing to hold? And when you see it that way, it really, right, it shifts and changes the conversation, right? So let's look at some ways, some different kinds of capacity. Right? The first kind of capacity I want us to look at is emotional capacity. It's what you can hold emotionally. So most people they think about burnout as I'm doing too much, right? That's the kind of the traditional way we've looked at burnout. But burnout often means that I'm carrying a version of myself that my emotional bandwidth was not built for. Yes. That burnout is more, it involves emotional capacity, right? And an emotional capacity, right? It's holding discomfort. It's learning to be uncomfortable. It's holding feedback, getting and giving feedback from folks. Emotional capacity, it's holding responsibility, it's holding uncertainty. It's holding transitions. It's holding who you are becoming. Man. And most of us aren't overwhelmed because we're doing too much, but we're overwhelmed because our emotional bandwidth never expanded to match our vision. Oh, we got a vision for our life, but our emotional bandwidth did not expand. And so I still have the emotional bandwidth of a teenager, but I'm living in an adult life. Hmm. Oh, it's about having enough internal room to show up fully in your dreams and your hopes and your goals. That's emotional capacity. And then there is cognitive capacity, and it's your ability to update the story you're telling yourself. Yes, sir. This is the mental flexibility required for growth. You know, I talk about mental flexibility in my book, The Durable Mind, Developing a Durable Mind. You need mental flexibility if you're going to be successful in life. Your future self has to think differently than your past self. And this requires you to revise your internal narrative. You have got to continuously revive the story you're telling yourself. What you tell yourself matters. You got to expand your imagination. You've got to begin to adapt the way you perceive yourself, and you have got to let go of old, outdated assumptions you have made about yourself and about others. There's a form of psychology called narrative psychology, and here's what it says: we don't live from facts, but we live from the stories we believe. Y'all. So if your story is too small, your life becomes too small. See? Oh my gosh. Your mind has to be flexible enough to begin to tell a new story. To turn the chapter and begin to write the new chapter and not live in the past chapters. This, y'all, is capacity, cognitive capacity. But then that brings us to this third kind of capacity. And this third kind, so, right? So we've talked about emotional capacity, we've talked about cognitive capacity. Let's talk about structural capacity. And this is the design of your life, right? And this is probably the part that most folk overlook or underestimate. That's what I'll say, not overlook. They underestimate this part. They underestimate how significant a part it plays in developing our capacity. Like, this is your habits, your routines, your environment, your boundaries. This is the relationships and the rhythms and the pace of your life. Like these aren't extras, right? No, this is architecture. This is what you need to design in order to make space for the new you that's becoming. Behavioral science says this. They put it this way. They say, we don't rise to the level of our dreams. We rise to the level of our systems. Y'all know this, that when a new thing is coming, we have got to change the system so that it can have the capacity to continue to produce it. Many of us are using or living today, rather, on systems that were built for who we used to be. And we can't figure out why we're frustrated, why things aren't working for us. They aren't working because the system hasn't been updated. Oh, you think you can get up at the same time you normally got up, even though you have more things you got to take care of? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, you think the relationships can function the same way, even though you're becoming more, you're growing more, and you can't figure out why you don't fit in with this group of people anymore. You have some habits that are getting in the way of you being the best version of your new self. Yeah. See, structural capacity means designing a life that supports your becoming. Not just where you are, not just where you've been, but where you're going. All right. Emotional, cognitive, structural. And then there is identity capacity. Whew. Y'all, this is the ceiling of everything. You cannot sustain a life that your identity has not accepted. I'm going to say that again. You cannot sustain a life that your identity has not accepted. That's why some of you are struggling, because your life is calling you to something more, but you keep having this small identity. And it's created a crisis for you because you want to get to the more, but you don't want to let go of. You don't want to revise. You don't want to update and adapt your identity. You cannot sustain a life your identity will not accept. And so if you still see yourself as a smaller version of who you are now, then you will unconsciously build a container that fits the old you, not the real you, not the one you're becoming. Identity is the ceiling of your capacity. And if your identity stays small, everything you build around it will stay small too. Small. It doesn't mean insignificant now. Don't get this twisted. Small means that it's familiar. It's safe. It's what I know. Even when the truest parts of you need more space. And you thought you were frustrated because people didn't understand you. Sometimes I'm frustrated because I don't even get me. Some of y'all are in an identity crisis. You're trying to grow and hold on to your old self. Y'all, this is the heart of capacity right here. This is it. And all four of them work together. They're an ecosystem, so to speak, for capacity. It's never about doing one thing. It's emotional range, it's cognitive openness, it is structural support, and it is identity expansion, right? And if one stays small, if one part of that capacity stays small, the entire system is impacted by it. See, and so it's not sometimes that we are lacking capacity. It's that we just underbuilt one dimension of our becoming. The good news is you can grow it. That's the good news. You can grow it. And y'all, and this is like that giraffe moment right here, right? Where we realize like I'm not too tall. The space I've created, the space I've built is too small. That's what it is. And sometimes we live lives designed around something that's too narrow or for who we really are. It's yeah. You didn't outgrow your dream. You outgrew the container you created because when you grew it, when you built it on what you didn't know. You didn't even know how much was inside of you. So you built it based on what maybe you understood now, but you didn't know how much you were going to grow. And so here you are feeling cramped in this space because the container you built is too small. You are not too big. The space you've created is too small. This isn't about fame. This isn't about being bigger than life, right? It's about room. Have you made room for who you are becoming? Have you created the inner room? Have you been honest about the room that you're in? Have you made room for your becoming? Okay. So as we get close to the close of this conversation, I just got a few questions, and I'm probably gonna pause in between these questions because I really want you to think about these things. I'm not gonna rush through them because if I rush through them, you're gonna miss a moment to let them really settle on you, so you can marinate in them and let them do what they're supposed to do in you. Here's the first question I want to invite you to consider: which part of your capacity needs expansion? Is it emotional, cognitive, structural, or identity? Which one? Which one? And here's the next one. You ready? I already feel like I'm going too fast. Oh my gosh. Like, where have you been living inside a container built for an older version of you? Where have you been living inside a container that was built for an older version of you? The one that's, yeah. What emotional space needs to stretch? Like, and what story needs updating? Ooh. Mm, mm. Like, there's so much I want to say about that. Like, oh, that story you're telling yourself, and it was based on limited information, but now you got new information, but you won't let yourself update the story? Because who are you if you don't hold on to that resentment? Who are you? If you don't hold on to your mistrust and your distrust. I just had a conversation about suspicion and offense and how they can become our identity if we hold on to them. You're supposed to let those go. That's a different conversation, though. Okay, all right. What structure needs redesigning in your life? Like what structure? Like what habits? What relationships? What rhythms? What environments? What boundaries? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's the last question. What part of your identity needs permission to grow? Like, will you give yourself permission to become more? ... and stop fighting with yourself about yourself. See, and in your identity, like giving it permission to grow, it's not so that you can get applause or status. It's that so that you can be whole. Wholeness is a thing, y'all. Because there is more to you than the life you've already experienced. Okay. All right. Wherever you are in the journey, stretching, questioning, redesigning, becoming, whatever that is, I want you to remember this. I know it feels odd for me to say it, but I say it every time we finish our conversations. You're exactly enough. Like, you are not too tall. You are not too wide. You are not too big. You're exactly enough. You just need to work on building greater capacity. Hey, if this conversation has spoken to you, I come on, like, comment, share it with somebody who needs to have this conversation. Y'all keep having the conversation. Heck, invite me to the conversation. I'll engage in the conversation with you. Just reach out. I'm here for it. Dante Poole again. Life Sculptors. Until next time.